It's convenient. It's cheap, it's everywhere. But ultra-processed food might be doing more damage than you think. From the colorful boxes lining your grocery store shelves to the drive-through meals that fill your lunch breaks, ultra-processed foods have quietly taken over modern diets. They're designed to taste amazing, last forever on shelves, and keep you coming back for more. But beneath the bright packaging and catchy slogans is a growing body of research suggesting these foods could be one of the biggest health threats we're not talking about enough. So what exactly are ultra-processed foods? Ultra-processed foods, or UPFs, are products that have gone far beyond basic cooking and preservation. They're not just made with simple ingredients like flour, oil, or sugar. Instead, they contain multiple industrial substances that you wouldn't find in a regular kitchen: emulsifiers, preservatives, colorings, artificial sweeteners, stabilizers, hydrogenated oils, and flavor enhancers. These aren't added for nutrition, they're used to mimic the taste, texture, and appearance of real food while cutting production costs and extending shelf life. Common examples of UPFs include soft drinks, packaged snack cakes, sugary breakfast cereals, frozen meals, chicken nuggets, hot dogs, instant noodles, flavored chips, mass-produced pastries, and even some types of bread. The more a food is altered from its original form, and the more additives it contains, the more likely it's ultra-processed. To the average consumer, these foods are just part of life. Grab-and-go granola bars, microwave mac and cheese, or bottled smoothies feel like harmless time-savers. But the health consequences are starting to become clear, and they go far beyond just empty calories. Over the past decade, numerous studies have found strong associations between high UPF consumption and a variety of chronic health issues, many of which are on the rise in countries with westernized diets. One of the most cited concerns is obesity. A landmark 2019 randomized controlled trial by the National Institutes of Health found that people who ate an ultra-processed diet consumed about 500 more calories per day and gained weight over just 2 weeks, compared to those eating minimally processed meals, who actually lost weight despite having similar nutritional profiles on paper. The conclusion? There's something about UPFs that encourages overeating. That something might be the way these foods are engineered. UPFs are carefully designed to be hyperpalatable, with just the right blend of sugar, salt, and fat to light up your brain's reward centers. They're soft, easy to chew, and often lack the fiber or bulk that would slow you down. Your body barely has time to register that it's full before you've eaten half the bag. This isn't just about willpower, it's biology, and food scientists know exactly how to exploit it. But weight gain is just the beginning. More recent research has linked UPFs to other serious health problems, including type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, depression, and even cancer. A large-scale French study known as the Nutrinet Santé study tracked over 100,000 adults and found that every 10% increase in UPF consumption was associated with a 12% higher risk of developing cancer, particularly breast cancer. While the study was observational and can't prove causation, the association was strong enough to spark concern among global health organizations. The World Health Organization has also weighed in. In 2023, WHO Europe released a report stating that high consumption of ultra-processed foods is a key driver of the global increase in obesity and non-communicable diseases. They warned that the marketing of UPFs, particularly to children, is fueling unhealthy habits that begin early and last a lifetime. Similar warnings have come from public health researchers at institutions like Harvard and the University of São Paulo, who coined the NOVA food classification system that helps distinguish between minimally processed and ultra-processed foods. And it's not just physical health that's at risk. Emerging evidence suggests that UPFs may negatively affect mental health as well. Some studies have found links between diets high in ultra-processed foods and increased rates of anxiety, depression, and mood swings. While it's difficult to untangle cause and effect, do people eat more UPFs because they're depressed, or does eating UPFs contribute to low mood? The association is concerning. One theory is that the lack of real nutrients, the high glycemic load, and the inflammatory potential of these foods all contribute to mood disorders over time. There's also growing concern about how UPFs affect the gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in our digestive systems that play a huge role in immunity, mood regulation, and nutrient absorption. Many ultra-processed foods are low in fiber, high in sugar, and full of emulsifiers that may disrupt the delicate balance of gut flora. When your microbiome is out of sync, it can lead to a cascade of health issues, from digestive problems to weakened immunity to mental health challenges. Yet despite all of this, ultra-processed foods dominate the average diet in many countries. In the US, it's estimated that nearly 60% of the average adult's daily calories come from UPFs. Among children and teens, that number is even higher. The convenience factor is hard to beat. UPFs are everywhere, cheaper, faster, and more accessible than fresh or homemade options. They're marketed as solutions to busy schedules, picky eaters, and tight budgets. And they're often shelf-stable, making them staples in schools, vending machines, convenience stores, and food banks. For people with limited income or limited access to fresh produce, UPFs may feel like the only realistic option. But the long-term cost, physically and financially, can be devastating. Chronic disease driven by poor diet places a huge burden on healthcare systems, employers, families, and individuals. And because ultra-processed foods are often cheaper than whole foods, especially in food deserts or low-income areas, they reinforce cycles of inequality and poor health. Some critics argue that the term ultra-processed is too vague or too alarmist. After all, isn't all cooking a kind of processing? Isn't yogurt processed? Isn't whole grain bread technically processed? The answer lies in the level of alteration and the purpose behind it. A homemade stew, for example, involves processing, chopping, cooking, seasoning, but it doesn't rely on artificial emulsifiers, colorants, or preservatives. It's made with whole ingredients, and the goal is nourishment. Ultra-processed foods, by contrast, are industrially manufactured with additives and cheap inputs to maximize profit, shelf life, and sensory appeal, often at the expense of nutrition. To illustrate how far things have gone, consider this. A typical ingredient list for a UPF can include upwards of 20 to 30 components, many of which you'd never use at home. Words like mono and diglycerides, hydrolyzed protein, sodium nitrate, carrageenan, modified cornstarch, and artificial flavor don't belong in anyone's spice rack, yet they're common in supermarket foods. They're not inherently toxic in small doses, but the cumulative effect of eating these additives every day, for years on end, is still poorly understood. So how much is too much? That's the million-dollar question. Researchers haven't agreed on a universal threshold, but many suggest that keeping ultra-processed food to under 20% of your total caloric intake is a reasonable goal. For the average person consuming 2,000 calories per day, that would mean no more than 400 calories from UPFs. A single packaged muffin and a soda could blow through that limit. Others say a more realistic aim is to simply be aware and reduce slowly, swap out sugary cereals for oatmeal, replace packaged snacks with nuts or fruit, cook more at home, and read ingredient lists before buying. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. Nobody's saying you can never have chips, frozen pizza, or a protein bar again. But when those foods become your norm instead of the exception, the risk begins to add up. The occasional indulgence is very different from a daily diet built on industrial shortcuts. The good news? Small changes make a big difference. Every time you choose whole foods, vegetables, legumes, grains, eggs, fish, fruit, you're giving your body nutrients it actually recognizes and can use. You're feeding your gut microbiome the fiber it needs to thrive. You're avoiding the blood sugar spikes and crashes that ultra-processed foods often trigger. And over time, you may find that your cravings shift, your energy improves, and your health markers start trending in the right direction. The challenge is cultural as much as nutritional. We've normalized ultra-processed foods to the point that they're everywhere: birthday parties, school lunches, office meetings, travel snacks. But just because something is common doesn't mean it's harmless. Smoking was common once. So were lead pipes and asbestos. Cultural habits can change, and when the science points to harm, they should. At the end of the day, ultra-processed foods aren't evil. But they are engineered, carefully, scientifically, and in many cases, addictively. They're designed to make you want more, to keep you coming back, to never quite feel satisfied. And that's a problem, because the real goal of food isn't just to fill you up, it's to nourish you, heal you, and fuel your life. So the next time you reach for something in a box or a bag, take a second look. Turn it over. Read the label. Ask yourself, is this food, or is it a food product? Is it feeding you, or is it feeding a system that profits from your habits? Because while ultra-processed foods might be cheap, easy, and everywhere, the health consequences they carry are anything but. And in the long run, the real cost might be far higher than the price tag suggests.